That's great.
I'm always so glad to see you guys.
We're glad to see you.
Well, on a lot of the calls I have these days, that's not necessarily true of the other people. I
Well,
think there are certain judges in the county who would be happy if I had a cat filter or something and they didn't have to look at me.
I could somehow believe that.
Yeah.
Well, it's right at 11. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, great.
Today is, let's see, February 12th, Friday, 2021. I'm John Lee with St. Louis Real Estate Investors Association, and we are so happy to have Miss Kathie Davis of Davis Travaglini LLC, and she's going to fill us in with this week's updates, whatever that may be. Good to see you, Kathie.
Okay, good to see you all too. Okay, my first thing off the top, and I'm hoping that one of you folks who is very good with chat maybe could put this information in the chat also, but Jacob Kern of the St. Louis Business Journal, who has written several nice articles from the landlord's point of view about the courts and the eviction stays and everything, called me earlier this morning. And one of the things he's interested in right now is exploring possible articles about vacancy rates, particularly probably in the lower income housing market. But we're hearing that, there are very few units available. Probably this is because we can't evict anybody. And so you've got non-paying units, but that doesn't mean they're available to another tenant. And he's interested in how that's working out. We were having a discussion, I'll tell you, about these dire predictions that we keep reading about the tsunami of evictions. And I kind of don't believe this. I don't think that, first of all, it's not the way it's going to happen. And secondly, I don't actually think there's that many executions backed up, not as many as these tenant places say. 10,000 people are going to be evicted if you lift the eviction stay, judge. Well, that's not really true. There are a number of executions that are backed up. Some of those evictions, as we know, as soon as the sheriff goes out and posts them, those people will be gone. Or when the sheriff goes to put them out, we'll find out that they fled in the night and just no one knew, and we'll put you back in legal possession. And the second thing is, when we start executing on those judgments, when the sheriffs start executing on those judgments, they only have 2 or 3 sheriffs that do that in areas, and they only schedule so many a day. So it's not going to be 10,000 people put out, in the course of a few hours. It's going to be, maybe 20, 30 evictions a day. Some of them are going to end up not having any people in them. Some of them are going to get canceled because they finally come back, surface and pay you, or, something else happens. So it's not going to be like that. So he's interested in talking about vacancy rates and the backlog of evictions. And he's also interested in possibly a second story, or maybe this is all one thing, about people who are considering getting out of owning investment property because of the way they, how it's been so difficult for people to enforce their rights. And, some of you, hopefully most of you are fine, but some people might be losing money. And, I think that I talk to people every day who are really kind of disillusioned with the fact that they're allowed to lose all this money and not get compensated for it, and the courts aren't willing to do anything for them. So anyway, Jake Kern at the Business Journal, and his telephone number is 314-210-5330. I think he's quoted some of you guys before. He's done nice articles. I urge you to call him.
What's the last 4 of his phone number?
5330.
Thank you.
I just put it in the chat there. We can send that out too if we need.
Yeah,
if we get it. I'm
letting you guys play with him unsupervised because I trust you, but don't go too crazy. He's very nice and he gets our side, but don't storm the Capitol. You know what I mean? Be reasoned about it. We understand that COVID's a problem. We understand everybody's doing the best they can, but really, what about our side? We're not being hurt. That's the kind of tack I try to take, rather than setting my hair on fire when I'm talking to some of these judges is, but I've got to represent my clients here, Judge. My clients have an interest here. My clients have a judgment. how does it affect my people's faith in the system if they do all the jump through all the legal hoops that they're supposed to do, and then they can't get their rights enforced with an execution? So so yeah, call him. He's a nice guy. Okay, St. Louis County. Let's start with the bad news. I was on a call yesterday, a town hall with the judges, and this was a wide-ranging one. It wasn't the one that's just about landlord and tenant. And so they talked about all kinds of things, but Judge Burton is still saying he hopes to move to phase 2 soon. He was saying 1st of March. Now he was talking about the end of next month. So I think he's going to hold off going to phase 2 as long as he can. He had also said in his various administrative orders that executions were stayed until they go to phase 2. And yesterday, for the first time, I heard it sort of slipped out when he said, and after we go to phase 2, we're going to consider what kind of evictions we're going to allow. So I'm thinking that he is now thinking he's going to do what the city first did, after we got on their butt for a while, of allowing certain kinds of evictions like 441s and unlawful detainers, and that kind of thing, and not allowing the straight rent evictions for a while. We'll see, but I'm concerned about that. I have been, we have been here trying to look at doing unlawful detainers rather than rent and possession, where we think the tenant is, can this tenant be saved? No. So that, and we're trying to put extra language in judgment so that if the judge does limit us to non-rent evictions, we can have clear cause in the judgment that it's not just about rent, that it's about, having their utilities shut off, bothering the neighbors, other factors. So consider that if you're getting ready to file new evictions, that you might want to do that. But maybe we'll at least get some movement in the county, towards starting executions again sometime in March. The judge also, as you know, is protecting the delicate flowers that work as eviction deputies in St. Louis County, who apparently have some kind of predisposition that they're more vulnerable to COVID than the rest of us. And recently I said to him in kind of an exasperation, well, can you get
what the hell?
can you get them vaccinated? And he said yesterday that they were going to get vaccinated. They're part of government or law enforcement or whatever. They've gotten them through a loophole. So hopefully Parson will give us some vaccine and the sheriffs will get vaccinated. Judge Burton said they were going to start vaccinating the sheriffs next week. So let's keep our fingers crossed on that. What else about the county? I think that's about it on the county forefront. Oh, I guess maybe one more thing. And I may have said this last week. The county got $30 million. I was on a call with a couple of county officials and some other landlord and tenant people a couple of weeks ago. They took our suggestions. They were nice about it. So I was kind of disconcerted when I looked at the website, the county website recently, to realize that their current status is they've got the $30 million. They're going to give it out, but they're working through how to do it. And they're not going to start accepting applications until March. So I don't know if they're going to take our suggestions to allow the landlords to apply or to allow judgments to count, but they are taking their sweet time and figuring out how to do that. Government is messed up on so many levels, from our very local governments all the way to the top, right? The Governor Parson, some of you may have read, signed some more state rent relief money. And this is another one, maybe someone can put this in the chat for me. That's that ERAP money. And the website is mohousingresources.com. And that's the one that we here at Davis and Travaglini feel is very difficult. Even though it allows landlords to apply, they require that you not have a pending lawsuit, among other things. But they've got more money. It might be worth it to do it. The landlords that I've talked to who've applied under it have not been happy with the process and have felt that, their applications gets bounced back for too many things. Even if they allow the landlords to apply, you still have to have something from the tenants. Often the tenants won't cooperate. So I wish you luck if you do that. We are looking at the language there where it says no pending lawsuits. we kind of feel like, well, if we have a judgment, that's not really a pending lawsuit. We consider a pending lawsuit to be pre-judgment. So we might encourage you, if you have a lawsuit in process, to see if we can get the judgment, and then apply. And, you know, I mean, I get the idea that if they're going to give you the money, you can't kick the person out too. I understand that. But why should you have to dismiss your lawsuit and start all over? That doesn't seem fair, particularly if they're going to bounce your application because there's a middle name on one page and a middle initial on the other page, and it doesn't all match up, and they're going to get all bureaucratic on you. I mean, I've said this before. I think I got my PPP loans in the six figures easier than landlords are getting this ERAP money for a couple $1,000s. So I don't think that's fair at all.
Nope.
The city might be our relatively good news place, where the Judge Stelzer, the new presiding judge, and Judge Higgins and Judge Reuther, who do the landlord divisions, are working. We're getting questions emailed to us every day about backlogs and what we think will happen and how to do this and how to do that. And we're asking for certain things. We're really hoping that there's going to be an order effective March 1st. I'm sorry. March 1st, we're hoping that will enlarge the evictions that we're allowed to do to at least some rent evictions. We still have a federal CDC stay, but they have to have filed that declaration. So if they haven't filed the declaration, we can go forward. If they have filed the declaration, it's important that we review that, or your lawyers review that, to make sure that you are safe to go forward with an eviction. We think we might be able to start having more hearings about whether the tenants are being truthful in those declarations and possibly winning those. Oh, and I've got one other thing that's kind of bad. This is the county again. It's always the county. The county is going to go from Zoom to WebEx April 1st. This is a problem because a lot of the defendants who participate on Zoom don't have cameras on their devices. And in WebEx, you can't go into a breakout room if you don't have cameras on your devices. It's also clunky and more difficult to use in other ways. Personally, for just hearings with other lawyers and the judge, WebEx, Zoom, go to meetings, Microsoft Teams, whatever, I'll do it. I'll do whatever I have to do. But when it involves unrepresented parties who might be less sophisticated or might not have access to the million laptops that I've bought since the pandemic started, it's a lot harder. And not being able to go into the breakout rooms and work out settlements with these people is really going to cause us problems. Now, the judges were all la about that yesterday. I mean, I've been complaining about this for months to every judge I could get to talk to me, which now I think they all have caller ID and they're not returning my calls. But I think this is going to be a huge disaster. And I can't believe that the tenant people aren't more on this, because it's their people it's going to hurt. If their person can't attend because they can't figure out WebEx, I'm going to get a default. And too bad for them. But it is going to be harder for us to work out the consent agreements. We do have the kiosks open in the county again. There's one at the county courthouse in Clayton, and there's one up there at Northwest Plaza in that government center up there, where people can appear for court appearances remotely. And there's deputies there who amazingly must be COVID immune, because they don't have to have shots or anything to help in these kiosks with all these people coming in off the street. But they are helping the people get on computers and that kind of thing and access remote court. We also are hoping to go back to real court in person soon, but we just don't know when that's going to happen. Nobody will tell us. Nobody knows. I think that's it. Have I complained about the county enough? Let me think if there's anything else. I think that's it. Jefferson and St. Charles are still kind of just going along like normal courts. And I looked on the statewide map on the Supreme Court this morning, and there's only 2 circuits that are in phase 0, which is like almost completely shut down. And they're both in Northeast Missouri, 2nd Circuit and the 41st Circuit. So a lot of the circuits are in phase 3, which is where there's social distancing and masks. But other than that, everybody's just going along like normal. So, most of the state courts have pretty much opened up. Lloyd, you have that hand. Am I supposed to call on you? Or no, never mind. That was my cursor. Duh. I'm about done with technology too. I'm ready to go back to an IBM Selector typewriter and a phone that stays in my car where it belongs.
Yes. A lot of learning curves going on right now.
I'm telling you. Should I be looking in chat? Is there anything else that I'm not?
No. What was, Kathie, what was that Missouri Housing? What was that website you said?
It's mohousingresources.com.
Resources.com. Okay. We put that in
And
there.
that is the state ERAP, Emergency Rental Arrears Program, or whatever it's called. And Parson just signed a bill giving more money to that.
Okay, good.
And I'd be interested in people shooting me an email if you have any luck with it. The feedback I've gotten on that program so far has not been great, but they do have a lot of money and it might be worth it to try.
Mm-hmm. It's worth trying everything right now, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Any avenue we can. We need to be in the system and help each other.
And if you have tenants who need work, I go to the gym out at Lifetime by Plaza Frontenac, and there's a new Mexican restaurant opening up out there called Uncle Julio's, and they have a hiring sign.
Oh, that's nice.
So there's jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Kathie,
Yeah.
can you still do the evictions on the courthouse steps like you have been, or not evictions, but
Foreclosures?
foreclosures? Mm-hmm.
Yes. There's a foreclosure stay for federally backed loans.
Yes.
And generally, individual investor loans are not that. So,
yes.
yeah. Local bank loans, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm doing foreclosures.
Well, that's good, because I may have one of those, and I passed the word. As she says, well, you can't do anything because I'm COVID. And her friend told her, said, no, your loan doesn't qualify for that. And he can, and he's about to take your house.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I got some money.
Oh, well.
So, okay. And can you guys pull up the deed of trust that's on record with the city from your computers? Or do I need to go and get that and then bring it to you?
If you can get it, it's better. If I buy the title report, which I do at the beginning of foreclosure, I can get the docs that way. We do have that tapestry, but the last time my password wouldn't work, but I think Christine knows how to do it. That should be able to pull it up, but I need some information to do that. So if you've got the copy, that's easier.
Yes, great.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
And I like to have a copy of the note as well.
Okay.
Okay. Should I be looking?
There's a question.
I'm not saying chat. Oh, there it is. Okay. Does county justify the change to WebEx? Here's the thing about the change to WebEx. The county has been one of the few courts doing Zoom or allowing the judges to do whatever they wanted. And it's the state Supreme Court. It's called OSCA, but it's the Court Automation Committee that has done this change to WebEx. And they've been talking about it for a while. I mean, I want to tell you, I have been seriously objecting to this for a long time because they've been talking about it. There are judges that are using Zoom who are much happier with it, but it's like we hit a brick wall on this. I don't know why, but this is a statewide change. All of the courts statewide are going to have to go to WebEx effective April 1st, if not before.
Wow.
Is there any irony with it being done April 1st?
Yeah, I know. That's that's definitely going to be hilarious.
Yes, somebody's truly a fool.
Yeah. Well, and they're just not rolling it out the way they need to either. I mean, I'm just not pleased with this. We've been doing okay. We had a big docket yesterday. Chris and Christine and I were all on it in St. Louis County. Judge was putting us in breakout rooms. We were working out consent judgments. We send them with DocuSign to the person. They read it and sign it and send it back. We get it filed with the court. It's fairly efficient. Nobody's having to breathe on anybody. And, we're in these times giving them pretty good payment plans, if we can. Our clients are giving us notes. Our clients are great. They're giving us notes ahead of time about what they'll do and that kind of thing. And sometimes I vary a little bit from what the client wants, but Christine will go, but the client said no. And I said, let me talk to them and I'll tell them why I did it. part of the problem is if I can't execute and if I can't even get a trial setting for a month, then yeah, I might give them, past tomorrow to pay. Yeah. And we're also, and when we go in the breakout rooms with the person, we can talk to them, because it's sort of private. We can talk to them a little bit about what COVID relief is available. They can say if they need help giving documents to the Salvation Army or whatever they're trying to do. And some of the people very sincerely are trying to, get through this and get funds if they can and that kind of thing. And those are the people that we want to help. And they might be your good tenants again if we can get them back on track. I don't know, and this might be something to talk to Jacob about too. I don't know what kind of applicant tenants are in the pool right now. I don't know what the fish in the sea are like.
Kathie, what was that number for us to call again? I came in right at the end of it when you were giving that number.
It's in the chat and it's 210-5330.
210-5330. Okay.
Yeah, and John Lee has very nicely put that in the chat and also the website for the Missouri State ERAP program.
Oh, okay.
And if you want to call me and ask me about that program, I'm happy to talk to you, but I don't know anything. If you want to call me or email me and tell me how it went with you in that program, that would be useful to me because that would give me some information that right now I don't really have, except everything I've heard so far has been negative. So
I can
that's all I got.
chime in quickly about the program because I asked my property manager about it last week after this update, and she basically reflected what you were saying, Kathie. She just said it's extremely cumbersome. She kind of talked about, she was originally told that tenants could fill out information online, and after trying to figure that out for like a week, she finally got word, I guess, from the people who administer the program that it's not possible to do it online after all. So they had to do like snail mail to the tenants or something. She just said it's extremely hard to get the tenants to always give over all the information. I think she'd been trying with several tenants and she was only getting to the point where she could have a completed application for one. And she was hoping to see how that would go through. But she said sometimes just working on an application for one tenant could take up her entire day. So anyway, I did get that feedback like on Friday last week. And
I appreciate you sharing that. That's very similar to what I've heard from other people. And I will tell you one other thing though, since the county got more money, we've talked to some tenants who applied to the county recently and they were told they were out of funds. If you have someone in that situation, tell them to keep calling and keep applying because they've got more funds now. Their website says they're not taking applications until next month, but I would tell your tenants to stay on that. I feel like the tenants who are trying are having some success, the ones who will follow through and everything. It's the ones who give up or don't try at all, or maybe just really can't meet the requirements that are having trouble.
So Kathie, can I ask for clarification about that?
Oh,
because
sure.
that might be something that I'm misunderstanding. So earlier in the call, you had talked about the county getting money that they haven't decided how they're going to do that. But apparently that is money that the landlords can access through an application. You're saying there's a separate program where tenants can contact the county right now?
Okay. Right now, the only program that landlords can apply through is the Missouri ERAP program, the state program that just got a bunch more money. We asked the county for this new money that they got, this $30 million. We asked them to allow landlords to apply. They have not posted the details of the program yet. Their website says we've got more money. The application process will start in March. So we will know, hopefully, by the beginning of March, how that's going to go. Tenants should be able to apply for that also. And tenants can apply for the state money. Tenants could apply for the estate money, through the ERAP right now. Tenants will be able to apply for the county money too. I mean, I know they're going to let tenants apply. The question is whether they'll open it to landlords as well. As soon as we get more details about that, we'll let you guys know. But right now they're saying next month.
So could I tell my tenant to look into the county program today, or do they need to wait until next month?
I think if they call right now, they're going to get told you have to wait until next month. I would tell them to call 211, which is the United Way number. And, United Way will know if they've got any agencies that have any money now.
Okay.
But I've been encouraging the tenants that I talk to through court and everything to call and keep calling. Maybe you'll get a social worker or somebody that will put you on a list, and you'll be among the first when the funds arrive and they roll out the new application process.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
this tenant
John,
I have in mind actually already got some funds from a church or something, so they actually
Uh-huh.
did go out and find something. I mean, there's no reason why they can't continue to keep trying those things, right?
Correct. Yeah, and that's a good point. There are, as there have always been, some charitable organizations who have always had funds available for people in evictions and, you know, that kind of thing. And I think the best single way to access that is through the United Way through 211, but there's a lot of little programs through churches and everything that you might have to know about that program to apply for it. I know that my accountant does volunteer work for St. Vincent de Paul, and she was talking to me recently about how they've been giving out tenant funds and that kind of thing. And I think that's money that they raise through their church. I don't think it's money from the government.
Probably
Kathy?
less red tape.
Yeah, here's something that might help you. On Channel 5 last night, they said, thanks to the CARES program, older people, whatever older is, they didn't give an age, but they said like retirees or close to retirees can go to the public library and apply to get laptops for free thanks to the CARES program. So some of this money that's not going out to the landlords is probably going to the libraries for these laptops for seniors. And that could help you all with the Zoom meetings and stuff, where the tenants can go get these laptops for free through the county library system.
I know there's been some talk about that. I actually belong to 3 libraries, the city, the county, and Brentwood. And
Yeah.
They're all closed right now, but you can order things, you know, through calling them online. And I know that some of them have laptops and everything. I know that the Brentwood Library, for example, has Wi-Fi in their parking lot, free Wi-Fi, and they will loan you a laptop to use in their parking lot. But their curbside service doesn't open until noon. So they might arrange for you to get a laptop and keep it overnight and come to their parking lot to use their Wi-Fi at 9 a.m. I don't know. I would imagine each library has their own system for that. And as far as I know, I think all the libraries in the city and the county are closed for people just walking in right now. A tenant would have to be organized enough to call in advance and, you know, get the laptop and get the Wi-Fi password and, you know, that kind of thing. And some of them are just not the people who are going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
They can't renew their car tags either. So
the impression I got was they were getting these laptops to keep from the news thing they had, but it was money from CARES though through it. Because I called all my tenants that were older and told them about it, so they're all calling up today. I said, hey, if you can get a free laptop, go for it. You know, then maybe you can get a consulting job and while you're at home, and that'll give you more money to enable you to pay your rent, you know, buy groceries and do other stuff. So that's what my tenants were doing.
At least until they forget their password and their grandson has to come over and recover it for them.
Yeah.
Kathy, I
Paul.
have a couple of houses with tenants in them that I would like to sell. How does evictions
Wait, I'm sorry, you froze up and I missed part of that.
I have 2 houses that it's a good time to sell them. They're pretty good houses and I would like to sell them, but I have tenants in them.
Well, you can sell a property with a tenant in it. It just depends on what your buyer wants. If you've got good tenants in there, the buyer might choose to have them to buy them occupied. You know, there's a whole process that you should go through as part of the contract where you agree to assign the leases to the buyer, and you agree, you know, if the rent's going to be prorated and if they're going to get credits or you're going to get credits, and how the security deposits are handled and that kind of thing. And then once the buyer takes over, they have to send a letter with a copy of the deed and everything to the tenant to let them know how to pay the rent from that day forward. But, you know, we have clients that buy and sell properties that are occupied all the time.
Well, these 2 houses would be good for owner occupants. That's the problem.
Well, then you'd have to evict the people. Are they in the county?
Me selling it to a landlord.
I'm sorry, what?
I would be selling to an owner occupant because they're good houses.
So you're going to need to get those people to move.
Yeah.
Which means I probably can't do it for a while.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, you could see if you get someone who wants to buy them before you put the people out.
How can you put them out if they have a lease?
You might not be able to.
That's the point.
You're welcome,
So-
Bobby.
When is the lease up?
Thank you, Larry. Or Dwayne.
When is the lease
Well,
up?
the one just renewed a couple months ago.
Oh, boy.
However, she's had 2 heart surgeries in the last couple of months.
I hate to think what we're wishing for here, but okay.
Oh, no. No, my point is she's been in extended stay a couple of times with
Oh.
the house vacant. She's got a boyfriend that's taken over the place.
Well, that might be something that you can terminate the lease for.
Yeah,
But-
that's what I'm thinking.
I hate to see you kick out a perfectly good tenant before you get a buyer, so that
Yeah.
might be, something you have to work
Juggle.
out.
Juggling.
Yeah. Okay, guys.
Mhm.
What have you got there, Bobby? Are you getting ready to use a cat filter?
It's an Australian Shepherd that my wife has fallen in love with. Me too.
I can tell you that when that video went around earlier in the week, in the morning, it was in lawyer land all over the place, right? And we were all just passing it around and getting hysterical. Then it got on Twitter. Then it got on the news. I went home and watched the news, and they had the cat filter video. And I told my husband, I said, wow, it's on the news. I said, I thought it was just lawyers who were looking at that. And if you guys haven't seen it, there was a video going around where an attorney was appearing remotely for a hearing, and somebody had put a cat filter on his laptop. And so he was appearing as a cat. and the judge is going, you have a cat filter. And the lawyer's going, I'm not a cat. We can't get the filter off. And the other attorney is like sitting there trying to keep a straight face. I mean, it was hilarious.
Now I understand it. I heard about this on a podcast this
Yeah.
morning, but I didn't see it. So now
Yeah.
I get it.
You got to go see it. It's funny.
It's really funny. Yeah. The cat is really cute.
Hey,
I think
Kathy,
it was some criminal case out of Texas.
Kathy, early on, I thought you were exploring as to how judges can make rules because they're supposed to only be enforcing the laws that are out there. And then saying,
Well,
I'm-
the judges in the circuits, the presiding judge in each circuit can make administrative rules on how the circuit is operated. So they can do rules as to process. They're not supposed to do rules as the substantive law. We all think that this is wrong what they're doing now, but thus far, our various legal challenges have been unsuccessful. So we're working on a takings lawsuit that I need to look at it again. The other attorney has drafted some stuff and I'm overdue getting back to him about it. But we're working on that. But I think that the best thing we can hope for right now is that this pandemic stop, the numbers go down enough, the judges feel comfortable letting us go back to our regular modus operandi.
okay. Is Greg still around your office?
Yes.
Okay. Hadn't heard you mention him, so I'm just curious.
Yes. No, he's got some other stuff going on that we're doing. We're working on this Florissant appeal of their crazy housing laws and that kind of thing. So I've got a different lawyer, John Hine, who's working on the takings lawsuit with me. And he's not physically in my office, he's down the street, but we're very comfortable working on it together too. But I've got a lot of lawyers in the air spinning around doing stuff for me right now.
Wonderful.
Yeah. We're all trying really hard. We're just not winning, which is hard.
Kathy, I wasn't really clear on what Jacob from St. Louis Business
Oh, okay.
Journal
He
was
is
doing for
working
us.
on a couple of stories about vacancy rates in St. Louis rental property, and also about the business of being a landlord, and if the COVID restrictions and the eviction stays and everything are affecting people's interest, willingness, ability to go on being landlords, having investment property, how that's affecting you.
For that to have an effect, it would have to get to the judge's mind and heart, right?
Well, I feel like the tenants get their side in the media all the time.
This is true.
And we don't. So this is the way that we're trying to wage back a little bit to get, you know, another viewpoint in there. I mean, that's like my whole career, right? Is I have to represent my side. And so we've got this reporter with the Business Journal who at least will, you know, talk to us and quote us and, you know, put our side out there. And I think it's really critical that we keep on doing that as the days go on, because the tenant advocates are out there talking about the tsunami evictions and about how debt should be wiped out. Nobody should be evicted ever again, even if they don't ever pay rent, and, you know, that kind of thing. And they know it's sad for the landlords, but, you know, that's what should happen. So we need to get our side out there as assertively as we can.
Kathie, do these judges realize that pretty much across the board, I think, or at least my clients is with my heating and cooling business, are really going to be, where they were flexible before, are going to be inflexible going forward because of what's happened now? Where if they don't have the high credit scores like the banks are looking at, if their job isn't rock solid, they're just not going to rent to these people anymore. Do they realize the ramifications of this stuff?
I
Or do
think
they just don't care?
I think that's one of the reasons why the tenant advocates are putting forth ideas like rent judgments should be wiped out from the pandemic. They should not be reported to credit bureaus. We should not be able to see them on CaseNet. They should raise security levels, that kind of thing. I think they're trying to get the past wiped out for these people. And I think it's unfair, you know, for many reasons, but the first reason it's unfair is it means that if someone comes to rent from you, you can't, and their security level's been raised and this has been wiped out from their credit bureau report, you can't see that they've defaulted before, so you can't see their track record. So that's unfair to you as someone trying to screen. And secondly, it's unfair to the good tenants because they have a good record that they earned, and now the bad tenant is going to look good just like them. And how do you differentiate if you don't have access to that information? So it's really unfair.
That's the same argument, as not the executive order about student loans. Watch out, I might get an executive order about this.
Most things that are bad for tenants are bad for landlords too, and vice versa. You know, it's an ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, they push it too far one way and it's not going to be good the other way. And, you know, I personally think that the reason why vacancy rates are so low right now is because there's all these places that aren't being rented because you can't get the deadbeat out, or because landlords have given up and walked away. How many people walked away in 2008? A lot of people walked away. There's vacant buildings, vacant houses in North County that have not been lived in years because the landlord got hosed by the mortgage lenders and walked away, and nobody's renting those properties now and nobody can get them back and reclaim them.
Why can't they get them back?
Well, some of them I think are in bad shape, or they're in bad neighborhoods, or you know, for a long time, the lenders just weren't dealing with it. So the properties were sitting there owned by somebody. The lenders weren't foreclosing because they didn't want to take the properties back. The property taxes weren't being paid, but they'd go to tax sale and nobody would buy them at tax sale. So there was a backlog. I'm not sure how big that backlog is now, but it was substantial for a while.
Yeah. Well, I know that last time that I mentioned I was going to dispose of some of mine because of the tax changes that may be coming. I got some calls just from mentioning that on this Zoom here, but they were all wholesalers, so you know how far that went.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what you come down to, is you come to the point where, you know, in the market where it becomes cheap enough that opportunists will be able to come in and make some money off it. I know somehow people got my name on the internet to do foreclosures. And a lot of these are people who are buying these old loans for pennies on the dollar from these lenders that have maybe wholesaled them and sold them, you know, in tranches 2 or 3 times. And nobody cares anymore. And, you know, they'll call me, these people from California or, you know, Virginia or whatever. Yeah, I bought these loans in Missouri and talk to me about what the process is. They don't know what shape the property's in. They don't know if anyone's living there. You know, payments haven't been made in 10 years. They don't know a lot about what's going on, but they bought them so cheap that they don't care. You know, over a period of time, they get a number of these loans really cheap. Some of them they'll make money on. And the rest of them, they'll walk away from them too, if they decide it's not worth it for them to have it. So,
That's an issue that I live in Ferguson and have most of my property here. And that is a big issue. Because those properties, you know, if you got one on the block, it brings the
Yeah.
whole block down. And so, but our new mayor, you know, it's like, you know, I try to tell her, can't expect anything to happen if you don't want the buyer to make any money.
right.
They don't. You know, it's
Well,
white privilege, you know.
if you can't even sell them at tax sale, you know you have a problem.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Don't know what to do.
Okay, guys.
Okay, Kathy, appreciate all your information this
Yeah.
week as usual.
Good talk.
Very helpful. Yeah, had a lot of questions. And thank you again. I guess we'll look forward to seeing you next
We'll
week.
see you next
and-
week. I got a couple more calls with judges in the meantime. So